Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Crow Canyon NITRO workshop on custom actions. Let me go ahead and share my screen, make sure you guys can see that. And we're just going to give it another minute here, see if other folks are going to pipe in. Looks like I got a couple joining at the last minute. I'm going to apologize up front. I do have a little bit of a head cold, so if I sound a little nasally, I apologize. And if anything is not clear, feel free to pop a question into the question box in the GoToMeeting window, GoToWebinar window, excuse me. We also have Ryan Stefani on the call. He will be answering any questions you have, and he'll also pipe in with any questions that are relevant to the discussion as we go through the custom actions. So just to give you an idea of what we're going to cover today, we're going to take a look at the custom actions from the perspective of creating task templates and creating tasks automatically based on information in the parent item, such as a ticket or request, and then how we can prevent the closing of that parent item without those tasks being completed. And we're going to do it using the query list action, which is one of the great things we have in the custom actions tool. So I'll spend some time talking about that piece of it. Before we get into the demo piece of it, before we get into talking about how to set up those custom actions, we have to have a structure in place to make it work. So we're going to, a lot of this stuff has been pre-configured as part of this demo, as part of this workshop. So I'm going to go through this structure in a little detail just to show you what it all looks like and what we're talking about here. So what we're going to take a look at is you have a ticket list or a parent list, some kind of parent list. It could be requests, it could be tickets, it could be purchase requests, it could be new hire requests, any number of business purposes. You have this parent item where you're capturing information about a request coming into the system. And as subtasks to that, you're going to have a task list, a child list. So this child list is going to be the tasks that are relevant to completing the parent item. So if the new hire example, you need to have them fill out, or you make sure that you get the relevant paperwork back. You need to make sure that they have access to the systems that they need to have access to. You need to make sure that they have physical access, things like that. New hardware, make sure that they, that the specs are right. Make sure that it's set up and running for them. So there's a couple different, there's a number of numerous examples I could go through, but this just gives you kind of a taste of a couple of them. And so that's kind of the key. We're going to start, these are going to be our main lists over here, the tickets list as a parent list and your task list as the child list. And we have a lot of this set up already in a lot of our out-of-the-box applications. So if you're using our out-of-the-box applications, you should see the structure already in place in a lot of ways. But if you're creating from scratch, I wanted to make sure I pointed out the key connections between these lists. The task list needs to have a lookup to the tickets list, or the child list has to have a lookup to the parent. Through our NITRO Forms tool, you want to have the parent have associated items link looking at that task list to make sure that you can see those tasks or those child items related to that parent item. You're going to want to have a lookup to another list, in this case category, and that's what we use in our IT help desk and a lot of other applications. So I went with that one. But this is sort of a common list that's going to connect the ticket and the task template. So that's sort of our linchpin right here, is we want to make sure that it doesn't have to be category, it could be issue type, it could be some other list that you have. But essentially that's the linchpin here. And the reason we're going to do this is that we can use dynamic placeholders and dynamic capabilities to manage multiple task templates for multiple types of categories. And I'll show you that when I get into the task template setup. And of course, you have the task template list over here that's going to have a lookup back to your category. And then we're going to have our custom action with a query list and create item action to create those tasks in that child list. Okay, so I might refer back to this, but I want to make sure I leave this up here. This is a good structure to work from if you're building this out from scratch. So let me jump over to our demo site or demo area. And so this is going to be kind of what a lot of you might be familiar with our out-of-the-box application for IT or for some of the other tools that we have. And you have a request coming in, you have a ticket coming in, something's coming in. And so what we've done is we've created a custom action to create tasks based on the category that is being submitted. So if we look at our need a new laptop ticket, you'll see that we've created hardware request tasks, some tasks related to this. This one doesn't have it for some reason. This one has the internet task. I thought I created the associated task for that one. I apologize. I can create one on the fly though. So you can see there's an associated task here for check router. Now, if we go and create a new ticket here, now let's run through it to show you that it's working for the hardware request. This might take a moment to come up. And okay, here we go. So we're going to say need a new laptop. We're going to do the categories hardware request. Issue type can be whatever you want it to be. So we're not using that in our workflow or in our action. And you notice that, I'll talk more about this in a minute, but you notice that the save button is missing up here. So that's important. Then we have a save button down here that's a little different. So we go ahead and save that. It's going to run a little bit of an action here. And it's going to query this task templates list that I have over here. And you'll see that I have on this task template list, if I bring that up, you have some tasks that are marked as category with the category of hardware request, and some that are marked with the category of internet. And when we go back to our tickets list, you'll see that when this gets completed, come on, there we go. It's going to refresh this, and we're going to see that new ticket I just created. And when I pop that open and look at the related items, you'll see that it has all three of those tasks that are there in the task template. So you can see that's picking up just these three because we're looking at that category. Now, and then it would pick up the internet one for that other one because it was just looking at that internet category. So what we're going to do is walk through how we set up that custom action. And so we're going to get into the custom action. You can go through it to a couple different ways. You get to our custom action tool, and then I'm going to cancel out of this for just a moment to show you that we're going into a colon called create associated tasks. So I'm going to pop that one open. And when we get to it, you'll see unlike some other custom tasks that custom actions that we're creating, you are only showing this one in the NITRO forms. In some other custom actions you create, you might want to show in the list ribbon. You might want to show them as a button on the form. This one we're actually invoking from a button on the ticket list. And while that's coming up, I'll show you we have on our ticket list over here. This is our ticket list form in NITRO forms. We've created a new save button. We've hidden the existing save button, and we've associated this create associated tasks action with that save button. So that's how we're able to run it when we hit save. We're now not allowing the user to hit the normal SharePoint save button. We're overriding it. We're forcing them into this custom action to create those tasks. And so if we go back to our custom action over here, you'll see it's only visible in the NITRO Forms tool. And then we're going to dig into our actions. So we're not putting any conditions around it. We're not putting any anything else around it. So we're going to look at our two actions. And there's really two basic ones. This first action here for templates is to go and query the task templates list. So we referred back, I showed you this task template list. We're querying this list from that template custom action. And then we're going to use that information that we capture from there and use it to create tasks. And I'll show you how that works. So you go into your query list action, give it some name. With this one we call templates. You're going to run it for the current item, and you're going to get an item collection. So when you're doing a query list, you have two options to get a single item back that meets a condition. And if multiple items meet the condition, it'll just pull the first one it finds. And then there's the item collection. So in this case, we're using an item collection because we have multiple tasks per category. So you can see there's 3 for hardware tasks. I can create more in here for internet or for other categories as needed. So really your task management is happening from over here in this task templates list as far as what gets created. So we're looking that up by using the query builder. And the query builder allows us to go in and add conditions, multiple conditions, and complex conditions to look up that information. In this kind of simplified scenario, we're just seeing what categories, seeing which of those task templates have a category that matches the ticket. So this is where that category linchpin comes into play. If we go back over here, this is why it's important to have that one kind of common list that both the parent list and the task template are looking up to. So it's going to show you that it's going to create that connection between them. And we have some interesting syntax here for the lookup. So I'm going to bring it over here into a notepad to show you what that looks like. What we're saying here is that the category on the item collection in this task templates list in the site has to equal the category of the current item that we're looking at. So we get that information by doing a lookup to the ID of the category. Because it is another list, we have to do that. Now, if we were looking up just something on the ticket list, like let's say we had a department field on the ticket list, and you simply wanted to look up, match the departments, you could just say where department equals department, and you're good to go. Or you could just do it for certain types of tickets where you say category equals hardware task or hardware request, and you don't have to worry about looking it up because it's, you're not doing this. It doesn't have to be dynamic. In this case, we're doing it dynamically. This is how you would do it. You have these placeholders of these percentages around a function. And so we're just referencing that function from here. So that is pulling, it's pulling the ID of the category that's on the ticket, the parent item, and matching it to the ID of the category on the template list. So once we get our information about that, once we get our collection, we use that information in the create tasks. So cancel that. So we're going to add list item, use our add list item action. And so we're going to create tasks based on that query that we just did. And we do that by saying that we're going to run it for that query list action, and we're referring back to that templates list. We're going to target where we put those tasks. We're going to create them in the IT training site, and we're going to create them in that associated task list. And what we're going to do is use these predefined columns. Now you could have it set up where you have users inputting some information, and it will iterate through. So if you have multiple tasks, like in our use case here, we have multiple hardware request tasks that we're creating. You could have the user input some information and it apply to all 3 of those, or have different information for each one of those tasks that gets created. That's up to you, but if you wanted to just automatically create them, you can use these predefined column values. So in the predefined column values, you have the column name in the task, and then you have the name from the query. So this is where it gets interesting, because you can use the variable, the dynamic capabilities of query list here. And so what we're doing is we're pulling the we're saying use the information pulled from this templates query, which is right here, the templates query. Just whatever that name is that you use for that query list, you can use it here. Just use hash, and then you have the task name. So if I open that up, we're saying set the value here in the task as the task name from that templates list. So that allows it to iterate through all 3 of those tasks that are over here on this list and say, okay, grab this task name, then grab this task name, then grab that task name, and it will all come through into your task list. And of course, we got to make that connection between the task and the ID. That's that lookup between the child list and the parent list. Just make sure we have that. That way it links them together. Okay, so then once we run through it, it creates the task, and then you're good to go. So we come over here, and now you've done it. You've created all 3 of those tasks. But now let's say you want to make sure that this ticket or request or whatever it is does not get closed before those tasks are completed. You want to keep that task, you want to keep this open. You want to make sure it is not closed until these are completed. So we do that through another query list action. And so we've already pre-configured a close action here on the ticket list. So we've just enhanced that a little bit to add in another check, another query. So if we come over here to our, go ahead and cancel that. And we're going to come back to our list here. We have that close action. So in the simplest scenario, the close action just sets the task as closed or the ticket as closed, and that's it. But we're going to add it, like I said, we're going to add in another check here to make sure that that ticket remains open. So once this comes up, I'll show you what that looks like. Taking a little while to come up. Apologize for that. Usually if I do a refresh, it'll kick it through. Try that. All right, come on. So it was working for me 5 minutes before the demo. So before this webinar, it was coming up no problem. So I'm not sure what's happening there. All right, so all this is waiting to come up. One other thing I want to point out is we're actually going to tie back into this closed custom action from the tasks. So another thing I've done with the task list, so if you come to, bring up the NITRO form for this task list. And what I'm doing here is showing you that we've, again, we haven't overwritten the save button because we want to keep that there. But what we've actually done is prevented anyone from updating this task status directly. The only way they can mark the task as completed is to hit this mark task as completed action. And the reason we're doing that is because we want to go and invoke that close action that's on the main tickets list. So if we go look at the settings here, hopefully this will come up a little quicker than the other one. And I guess I can see why we're having some webinar issues. There's a bit of a problem there. Okay, so this one finally came up. So we'll go back into that one in just a minute. So ignore this one. This was set up here for a demo. I'll actually just go ahead and delete it. I don't think we need it here. But what we're going to do is we're going to do this query list for the open tasks. And so the way we set this up is we're again saying, let's set up some criteria, some conditions to try to match back to the task templates, the tasks that are there. And what we're going to be looking for is any task that remains open. So we can do this using Query Builder. I think for demo purposes, we showed that you could do it through camel queries as well, if you're familiar with those. But this can actually be built out through the Query Builder as well. And what you would be building out is that the related ticket ID equals the parse field ID. So you just put that same kind of percent information in the thing. So I'll show you what that looks like here. So the related ticket ID equals parse field value, and do that percent. Actually, I can come back over here and copy that directly and pop it in there. So that we can do the same thing that we're doing there. We're going to say where, and also where the task status is not equal to completed. And only if no items are found, we're going to continue the action. And what that means is that if we don't find any items that are, it's kind of a double negative. We're saying the task is, we're looking for any tasks that are open. And if there are any found, to kind of say it a different way, if there are any found, we're going to stop this action from continuing on, which the next action would be to close the ticket. So it's going to throw this error of requests are still open, and we need to mark them as complete. So I'm going to delete this so I don't mess anything up. Cancel there. If we go back to our task list, now let's say we try to run the close action from here. We're going to do that, and it is going to tell me, I didn't update the tab, that's why I think so. Okay. And it's going to tell me this request still has open tasks. Please mark all tasks as complete before closing this request. Okay. So to do that, we can go and go to our task, and if we edit this, you'll see that this task status is not editable at all. We made it read-only in our form. So you can update other information and you can save it, but you can't mark it as complete until you go and hit this mark task as completed. So we can do that. It'll run the action. This is actually, like I said, this is going to go back and invoke that close action. So again, we're going to run that close action, but it's going to fail because the tasks aren't completed. So again, let me see if this will pop open now. So I'll open this mark completed one. Give that a moment. Okay, so while it's opening, oh, things got slow for some reason. This is working really snappily about a half hour ago. Okay. All right, so it's going to take a moment to run that close action, and then it will, it's going to show as a check mark, but that's because the invoke workflow worked as expected. But in reality, it did not mark this as closed. So you can see it marked our task as completed, but our request status is remaining as unassigned. So we can do the same thing here. If we mark this one as completed, it's going to do the same thing. It's going to run through that action. It's going to do the close action, but it's going to fail again. Let's give this a second to run through. All right. Close that. Close that. You'll see it's marked as completed. And again, we're left with an unassigned status. So let's do it one more time for the install hardware where we've done it. It's all set. And you see that mark completed action shows in a couple different places. Let's run through it one more time. And now you're going to see something a little different. It's going to pop open resolution and resolution notes, which is part of the close action we have for this. And that means it's gone on to the next step in that workflow. So if you go back to our close action, you see there's an update list item. So we kept failing at this one because those tasks were not completed, but now it's moved on to the next one. And if we go back to, where were we, over here? Okay. And so there are settings you can put in place to kind of refresh things and kind of close things and kind of redirect. See everything's completed. This one, it's not going to update on here just yet, but if we close that and open it back up, you'll see that this task has now been set as a status of closed. So automatically close the ticket, the parent item, when all those tasks were completed. So you can choose that, do that. You can choose to do it a different way. There's a lot of flexibility in those custom actions. Let me see if this one came up. You know, so the extra thing we've added into this mark completed. So we're updating the list item, which is basically just setting the task as completed. It's a real straightforward. Just you're going to do an update. We're going to do this predefined column values. Mark the task as completed. And then the next one here is invoke custom workflow, or invokes custom action. And so the invoke custom action setup, you can choose to use a custom action on your current list, or you could use a lookup list. We're using that related lookup ID. You can see we can invoke any of the workflows from that parent list, but we're just choosing to do the close action. So we can even do a further query list action if we wanted to. But yeah, that is a run through of how to use custom actions to automatically create your task templates and create tasks for different types of requests or different types of tickets that are coming through into the system. Feel free if there's any questions that are out there. I haven't been monitoring if any questions are being asked.
No questions. We're all good, James.
All right. Well, very good. All right, I guess that's it. Well, thank you everyone for joining today. Appreciate your attendance. If you have any questions that pop up after we end the session, feel free to shoot them across to myself or to Ryan, and we'll get them answered. Hopefully this was helpful in showing you how you could use a custom action, a few different custom actions to set up an automated process for creating tasks for different types of tickets. Okay. All right, thanks everyone. Have a great day.
Thanks, James.